Okay, and welcome back, students who are taking Math for Business and Finance and Math Applications. And we're continuing on with our Chapter 8 word problems, the odd number problems. And we finished on 823, so now we're picking up with 825. Right. Mizu Sheet, owner of the bedspread shop, knows his customers will pay no more than $120 for a comforter. Mizu wants a 30% markup on selling price. What is the most Mizu can pay for the comforter? Okay. So again, we're looking at selling price is equal to cost plus the markup. Okay. And if we know that he pays no more than $120, knows his customers will pay no more than $120, so that's the selling price. And we want to know how much he can pay for the comforter. Well, that's our cost. And 30% markup based upon the selling price, so that's 30% of the 120. And all there is just doing the math for this. Okay, so 120 is equal to C plus 30% of 120 is 36 bucks, and we want to isolate the C, so 120 minus 36 is equal to C, and so that means it's $84 is our cost. Okay, simple as that. All right. Next problem, 8-27. Okay, Mizu in problem 825 wants to advertise the comforter as percent markup on cost. What is the equivalent rate of the percent markup on cost compared to the 30% markup on the selling price? Check your answer. Is this a wise decision? And we're going to round to the nearest 100th percent. Okay, so this is asking, he wants to advertise the percent markup on cost. And it's asking what's the equivalent rate of percent markup on cost compared to the 30% markup on the selling price. In order to arrive at that equivalent rate, we're talking about the percent markup on the selling price divided by 1 minus the percent markup on the selling price. Okay. So if our percent markup on the selling price from the previous is 30%, so that's 30%, and we're going to divide it by 1 minus the 30%, which is 30% over 70%. And when we divide 30% by 70%, we end up with 42.86%. Okay, so that's that's the equivalent rate as our markup on the cost versus the 30% of the markup on the selling price. Okay. Now, if we want to check this, we take the 42.86%. Remember, that's decimal wise, that's 0.4286. And we divide it by 1 plus the 0.4286. So we have 0.4286 divided by 1.4286, and when we do the division there, we end up with the 30% of our selling price. So that's the check. Okay. And as you can see, it's basically just the reciprocal here. Okay. I mean, here we're looking at 30% is the markup on the selling price. Well, here we're looking at the markup on the cost. Here is the markup on the selling price. Here's the markup on the cost. But because this is a negative and we're doing the reciprocal, the complement, we're adding that together. Okay, so that's our double check. Right? And that converts one into the other. right there. Right? Okay, so let's move on. If you have any questions about that, watch the video again, and feel free to telephone and speak with an instructor, because in the previous problems we were doing this just straightforward, but now notice that in this particular problem we're actually talking about making the conversion of the markup based upon selling price and its equivalency of the markup to the cost. In other words, if like in the previous problem there, back here on 8-23, we had figured out how much our selling price would be based upon the markup of the selling price, and how much the selling price would be based upon the markup on the cost. Well, now we're sitting here and we're saying, okay, we know our percent markup on the selling price over here is 30%. Well, if that's for the selling price, what's the equivalent rate? How much would that be if it's based upon the cost? And that's what we're actually looking for here. Okay. 8-29. Okay, it says here, Angie's Bake Shop makes birthday chocolate chip cookies that cost $2 each. Angie expects that 10% of the cookies will crack and be discarded. Angie wants a 60% markup on cost and produces 100 cookies. What should Angie price each cookie? Right. So we have, let's see here, 60% markup on cost. And we're producing 100 cookies that costs $2 each. Oops, not percent, dollar. That costs $2 each. And there's going to be 10% that's going to be discarded. Right. So the first thing I need to know is how much my total cost is going to be. So if I produce for my total cost, I have, write that better, my total cost is going to be equal to 100 cookies times the $2, which means my total cost is $200. Okay, now that I know what my total cost is, and I know that I have a 60% markup on cost, if I have my selling price is equal to my cost plus my markup, my total sales price plus my total cost plus my total equals the total cost plus the total markup. Let me rewrite that. Total sales price is equal to the total cost plus the total markup. And the reason why I'm being so picky about the total here is because, remember, we're going to have a 10% discard. Okay, we're getting rid of 10%, but we're talking about two different amounts here. We're talking about how much it totally costs, but I'm not going to be able to sell all of that. Okay, so my total sales price is equal to 200 plus, and my markup is based upon cost, so that's 60% of the 200. So my total sales price is going to be 200 plus 60% of 200 is 120, and that means my total sale price is going to be $320. Okay. Well, it would be easy to sit there and go, okay, $320 dollars is my total selling price, and I want to know what my total sales price per cookie would be by simply dividing by 100. And that means each cookie would be priced at $3.20, but that's not true. For the simple reason, we're not selling 100 cookies, right? We have a 10% we're discarding 10% due to being cracked, okay? So we're not selling 100 cookies, we're only selling 90 cookies because 10% of 100 is 10. and 100 minus 10 is 90. So for our selling price, okay, per cookie, that's going to be equal to, if our total sales price that we're going to get is 320 and we can only sell 90 cookies, we divide 320 by 90 and we end up with $3.56 per cookie, which makes more sense to price our cookies at that amount. And that's why it's up from 320. I mean, if we were selling 100% of our cookies, we would price them at $3.20. But because we know we're going to discard 10%, right, that means the price of each cookie has to go up in order to be able to cover those costs. And that was just 10%. If I had gone and said, okay, 25% of the cookies are going to be broke, stolen, or whatever have you, well, I would still take my total sales price of 320, but now instead of 90, I would end up with the 75 cookies that I'm actually able to sell. So that's going to increase. When I take 320 and divide it by 75, that's going to increase the price per cookie that I have to get. Right? So let me just quickly do that math. 320 divided by 75, that means I would have to price each cookie at $4.27. Right? So the less cookies I have, the more price per cookie I have to set for the sales price. Okay. All right. I hope you understood that, and you can see that relationship there. All right. With that, I'm going to pause here and go on to the next video.